So Ozzy Osbourne dead at the age of 76. Obviously, some really sad news today in the heavy metal community. Decided to hop on here today on my channel to kind of talk about how I'm feeling and how everybody else is feeling out there. Comment below how you're feeling with this really terrible news. I'm not on the radio today. Unfortunately, not doing any live radio shows today. Today would have been a day, would have loved to have been on the radio to talk Ozzy and, play some Sabbath. But this is the next best thing. Of course, everybody's doing this now anyway, talking on YouTube, doing the whole social media stuff. So, yeah, just really, really sad news. I mean, Ozzy is, one of the greatest rock and roll metal singers, however you want to categorize him. For many people, he invented heavy metal. The band Black Sabbath. That's why I'm wearing my Sabbath shirt today. Kind of invented heavy metal, right? As we know, there was other bands that kind of started that were playing, heavy rock at the time, like Zeppelin, and you have Blue Cheer and Cream as well, and the Who. But Black Sabbath really took it to the next level, right? I mean, they really took it to the next level. You could definitely hear it right away on the first record, the self-titled album. And then, the song Black Sabbath that still to this day remains one of the best metal songs of all time and one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Black Sabbath song of all time. Just about, everything it's about and just the music and just, it's just so innovative. It's a pioneering song. I mean, it started heavy metal, right? The song Black Sabbath. And at a time, 1970, where you just didn't have this kind of music happening at all, right? It just was not part of the equation. It was at the time even probably too heavy to play on the radio, and luckily the band had some success with the second album, right, with Paranoid and Iron Man, mainly Paranoid. That was kind of like the first song that a lot of people around the world heard from Sabbath, and then they kind of just kept going after that, as we know, kind of developed a cult following. They didn't really have a mainstream, pull like other bands, because mainly, again, people thought it was too heavy, it was too controversial for radio, for whatever, things were different then. And yeah, I mean, Ozzy was a part of all that. He made history with Black Sabbath, and then he went on his own and, went even further, right? Just had an amazing solo career. The 1980s, I mean, were Ozzy's when it comes to metal. I mean, this guy was the number one thing to go see. All his shows. I mean, look at any Ozzy album from the 80s. It's great. I mean, any of them. I mean, Diary of a Madman, Blizzard of Oz, Bark at the Moon, The Ultimate Sin, No Rest for the Wicked. All these records, No More Tears in 91. All these records are historical, albums. I mean, they're albums that you could listen to from beginning to end, and basically almost every song is great. And he always had really great guitar players, right? First he had Randy Rhoads, rest in peace. What a legend. One of the greatest guitar players of all time. And Ozzy had him on his first two albums, right? And probably without Randy, I mean, Ozzy would have not have been as successful on his own, right? I mean, he really helped him out. Crazy Train, one of the greatest guitar solos of all time. And yeah, I mean, then, of course, he had Jakey Lee. Can't forget about him, who was really good on Bark at the Moon and The Ultimate Sin. Then he got Zakk Wylde, who put out a couple great albums as well. I mean, so, like, every album, this guy had great guitar players. Can't forget Brad Gillis, too, who played on Speak of the Devil, I should say. Brad Gillis playing on that was, really important as well, doing all those, Sabbath covers and, getting a chance to interview Rudy Sarzo, who played on that record. He talked about how it was, playing with Ozzy and all that. And it's just crazy to think, that he's gone, right? I mean, I think that's why everybody's a little bit shocked right now, despite the fact that we knew this day was coming, right? We knew Ozzy was really, really going through it. I mean, he really was struggling the last few years, as we know. And he had his farewell show just a few weeks ago, right? July 5th, 2025, the Back to the Beginning Festival that I got a chance to watch, live stream. I was not in England, of course, but got to watch it like everybody else did. on the internet, and it was great. For many people, like I think I was talking to a friend of mine about this. I think this is probably going to go down as the greatest heavy metal festival of all time, right? The Back to the Beginning Festival will probably go down as the greatest festival of all time when it comes to heavy metal. I mean, it had everybody, right? I mean, basically everybody: Metallica, Slayer, Tool, Gojira, had all these bands, right? Anthrax. It had basically everybody. Maybe not Megadeth, right? For the Megadeth fans that are watching, Megadeth wasn't there, but there was basically everybody that had to be there, right? Iron Maiden wasn't there, Judas Priest wasn't there, but there was basically a great lineup to bid farewell for Ozzy, right? And I think that's the most important thing, that it was done, that Ozzy had a chance to do it, because I think it would have been worse if he would have passed before that festival, right? It would have been, more sad. At least we got the last goodbye, right? And everybody saw it too. Everybody around the world saw it. They're even gonna put a movie they're gonna release a concert film with this, film, this concert. They're gonna put it out on the movie theaters and all that, so people around the world could see it if you missed it, or if you want to see it again. I might go see it again. I mean, come on. But I mean, it's still a lot to take in. I think it's still, just pretty fresh. I mean, it's been about an hour since I heard the news, and it's still kind of, it's kind of surreal, right? Because we just saw Ozzy play one of the biggest shows of his career just, a little over 2 weeks ago, right? I mean, July 5th to the 19th was 14 days. That was 17 days ago. We were seeing Ozzy on stage playing on his own, doing some songs on his own, and then, of course, doing the reunion with Black Sabbath, the 4 original members going on stage, playing for the first time together in like 20-some years, right? That was so cool to see Bill Ward come back and play with the band, and then, of course, Ozzy up there. And, it was just great. It was a perfect show. It was like one of those shows that you'll never forget. For the ones that were there, comment below if you were there, or, I mean, if you were at that show, I mean, you saw like one of the greatest musical performances of all time, right? I mean, that was one of the greatest performances of all time. I mean, that's exactly what it was. And for those that were there, I mean, that's crazy. But watching it on the internet, on live streaming, although it was a 2-hour delay, but that was the next best thing. I mean, getting a chance to see that. In my case, I got a chance to see it with a couple special people that for me were super important, that are super important for me when it comes to music. And that's my dad and my uncle, who both are big Black Sabbath fans, right? And since I was young, I first heard Black Sabbath because of my dad, right? And my uncle too. I remember one time my uncle came to visit us, and we were driving around in his car, and he was playing the Black Sabbath greatest hits. That greatest hits. The name is escaping me right now, but the two CD compilation that was released, I believe, back in the '90s. And we sold our souls for rock and roll. That's what it's called, right? That compilation. And I remember listening to that compilation. We were driving around in his car and listening to it. And I was just blown away, being a teenager, I believe I was in middle school or a freshman in high school. I was pretty young. And, hearing those songs, kind of changed everything for me, right? Hearing all those Black Sabbath songs and it just, it started a whole new thing for me, which was, a more edgier kind of music, and the rest was history. For me, I've been extremely fortunate, right? I've been very fortunate with my life and my career. I don't take anything for granted. I decided to pursue the radio thing because of the late great Bob Coburn from KLOS, who told me when I was 14 I had the voice for radio. I called up KLOS, and Bob answered the phone, and he said, "Wow, you got a great voice. You got to do this. You got to go into radio." And as a kid, it was a lot, because Bob Coburn was one of my idols. I loved listening to his show, and because I loved the music, and I just loved KLOS. I loved the radio. So hearing that was like life changing, right? And I tell this story all the time when people ask me why you went into radio. And I went into it, and yeah, I mean, it's been great. And going back to Ozzy, I mean, I've gotten a chance to interview people that play with Ozzy, right? Rudy Sarzo, Carmine Appice. I mean, these guys played alongside Ozzy Osbourne, right? And it's been crazy to get a chance to talk to these legends, and hear their insight. You know, David Ellefson, who I've interviewed him a few times, has talked about Sabbath, and he played, of course, just played at the festival this past week, a couple weeks ago, right? So, I've interviewed like a lot of legends for those that have been following me the last couple years, and a lot of these people have played with Ozzy, talked to Ozzy, they've collaborated with Ozzy, interviewing the Cavalera brothers from Sepultura, who opened up for Ozzy at his first farewell show back in '92, right? And just a lot of stories. I've had a chance to talk to these legends. A lot of people don't get that opportunity, so like I said, I don't take it for granted, and I've been very lucky. And today is a tough day, right? It's a really sad day for everybody who follows rock and roll, follows metal, who's a Black Sabbath fan like myself. And like I said, I think the festival, the Back to the Beginning festival, I was lucky to watch it with a couple people that were very special in my life, and we all enjoyed it, we all saw it. I'll never forget going to see Black Sabbath too at the Forum back in 2016, 2017, around there. I believe it's 16, right? The years are I'm getting old, right? It's been 9 years, and then getting a chance to go to the Ozfest with my dad, the last Ozfest ever. We were there. So, I mean, it's just a lot of memories, and it's not gonna be the rock and roll world, the heavy metal world's not gonna be the same without Ozzy. There's no doubt about it. It's not gonna be the same. But like he always said, I mean, like the song that I play at every radio station I work for, or I collaborate with. You can't kill rock and roll from Ozzy Osbourne, right? I've played that everywhere, and I will still play that as I continue my radio journey and my journey through whatever I go next. But that song is great. I mean, it speaks from the heart. You can't kill rock and roll, right? I mean, I think that's important, right? I think it's something that it's you feel it as a rock and roll fan, and you could feel Ozzy when he sang it. Randy Rhoads on the guitar, and it's just one of my favorite songs of all time, not just from Ozzy, but from anybody, just because I think it's true. You can't kill rock and roll, and that's my mission. My mentors have told me this, to keep the music alive as I continue to go through radio, to keep this music alive. And of course, I'm going to keep Ozzy and Sabbath alive as long as I keep going and keep doing interviews and playing on the radio, playing the music on the radio. It's always going to continue. And it's just, I mean, this is one of those days that I'll never forget, July 22nd, 2025. Seeing the news for the first time and getting all the messages from people that I know. It's crazy. You see how your friends, a lot of people are really into the music. I mean, it's really special to see how you see all the people, sending you messages saying, hey, did you see the news? Rest in peace, Ozzy. And it's really cool to see all that support from people that you know. And it's just, it's a sad day. It's a really sad day for everybody, right? But yeah, I mean, life goes on. The music will continue. That's the important thing. The music's always there, right? I mean, the recordings from Ozzy and Black Sabbath are always going to be there. They're always going to be there to listen to. The CDs. If you don't listen to CDs, go on Spotify, YouTube, whatever, your choice. But for me, I got the CDs. They're always there. And I'm just, going to be listening to that probably a lot the next few days, right? And trying to relive those memories. And yeah, I mean, it's just a part of life, right? As we know, we all go. So Ozzy dead at 76. Rest in peace to a legend. Rest easy, Ozzy. Your music will live on forever. And for us that, follow you, this music, and follow the scene and follow heavy metal, we're going to keep it alive, right? We're going to wear your t-shirts. We're going to grow the hair out and, wear the leather and keep it going. Rest in peace, Ozzy.